What is up, everybody? We're stoked to be here. We're going to give it like a minute for people to trickle in, but that is right. Episode 2 of Does Compute, and we are absolutely honored and thrilled to have the Build.Fun team here to talk to us today. Episode 1, we focused on the AI space, and we spoke with a trader who had a really good grasp on just the whole scene going on over in the AI ecosystem. So I'm really excited today for this episode to talk to an actual builder and a development team that's been pushing a great product in the space for a couple of weeks here now. I know they just finished a spaces over on their server. So just really appreciate them being here today and chatting with us. As always, on Does Compute, we try to go a little bit beyond the hype and the fluff. So we're absolutely going to be talking about Build as well as their project, but we are going to take it a layer deeper as well. Talk a little about what is it like to be building in this space. What is it like to watch AI evolve and all the decision making involved in that process? It's going to be a great conversation. So thank you for joining us. With that being said, let me introduce the Build.Fun team. What is going on?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing great. Appreciate you being here with us today.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
Absolutely. So I guess we can start off. Do you mind just telling the audience a brief overview of the Build.Fun platform? As I know it is a no-code, low-code solution for launching AI agents. But if I'm missing anything there or there's some extra details to add, please feel free to fill us in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good, one-liner on what it is. I think, the thing that really sets us apart is that low code, no code aspect, prioritizing no code. So it's kind of democratizing the access to building these cool custom agents. It's right now, it's really just in the hands of, advanced developers. So the ability for custom functions, which you can just custom function, you can integrate to essentially anything that's active on the internet, is the thing that really sets us apart rather than, having to code it. So providing providing the building blocks to create cool custom agents with no code. But, just short little line there.
No, I love that. And I want to start the interview today just talking about where did you see the need for build in the current AI space? So obviously AI times crypt launched only a couple of months ago. You could trace it back to Goat and Truth Terminal. Then we got into the ELIZA framework, and now there's so many teams that are just out building in public. It's really cool to see. Where do you in the build team have that aha light bulb moment? We're going to make build and then commit the resources to go through with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things when, I first started coding, and 8 years ago, was there were lots of cool things that I wanted to build, but, I just didn't have the resources since I essentially had to start from zero. And then I found this platform called Xcode, which is something from, Apple. It's essentially their development environment for iOS apps. And you're essentially able to drag and drop stuff onto a phone and it would just show up on your phone. So I think that thing has really, product from Apple has really ingrained it into me of the ability of providing tools to non-developers or beginner developers so they can actually create something cool. Because 8 years ago I wasn't able to create something cool until I found that platform. So I started experimenting with all these different frameworks, and I got them running. I was building things, but I was kind of like, hey, if my friend who barely knows how to code but kind of knows wanted to build something here, he probably couldn't even get it running. So I think I kind of thought of that moment when 8 years ago when I first started coding, and then also thought about it as I was building these things about just how complicated it is, just to get it going. And then on top of that, building something cool, you essentially have to be a full developer to do it. So I think I just put those two things together, and I was like, I think that everyone wants a cool agent, so I need to create a platform to for everyone to be able to.
Awesome. No, I definitely see the parallel there between Xcode with Apple and just dragging and dropping on your phone, and now here we are with AI agents. What is your time frame looking like in terms of when did you actually start building the build platform as we know it today, specifically for the cryptoverse?
Yeah, I think we've been working on this for probably 2 months now. However, I think the past month, a little bit more than a month, has been the head down focus. We're gonna really make this our full priority and focus on that. So still early in our process. However, we're moving at a super pace. So yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a perfect segue into something that I was really curious from a builder's perspective. The whole space is really just going so quickly. It seems like when the space first took off, we were really focused on just AI agents standalone. Now everyone's really interested in infrastructure. Obviously, swarms are a big topic. What is that like for you? Because it's not like this is an established field fully, right? It's continuing to develop and unfold. So what is that like for you as you're seeing the innovation, you're at the cutting edge of it? How much pressure is there for you to just keep up with everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing is, keeping up with that stuff is super important. However, also not just relying on, the stuff that's happening right now, but also thinking about, what would people want in the future. I think thinking about both of those things is super important. So, keeping up to date with what's going on right now. Usually when, something cool comes out that people really like, or, something that's unique, it's usually the talk of the town, like the crypto town. And then in addition to that, I think a big part of it is, thinking about what people want in the future rather than thinking about what people want exactly right now. Kind of having like a forward thinking mindset, I think helps with this super fast moving space. As you never know, like the thing that you're, the forward thinking that thing you want to have, that could be the next thing that everyone's rushing to add. So I think just having a forward thinking mindset is, super important in building in this space.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm really curious. Last episode that we had, we talked with a trader just what his thoughts were in terms of what is the current meta, if you will, or what's sort of the current flavor, and then talked about where things might be headed. So, in that vein of understanding what users want right now and then maybe a look ahead at what's to come, what is your take on what users want right now from an AI project? And do you have any inclinations or ideas of where this space might be headed?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now people are really wanting, real utility behind things. They're not just wanting, a fad or a yapper. I think, the whole space kind of started off as yapper agents, what I like to call them. Essentially, they just like shit post on Twitter. And I think it's been turning more into, currently right now, like real use cases behind them, over the past month or so. And so I think in terms of like where it's headed, I think there's just going to be a lot more, customizability and a lot of these similar projects. Like let's say one of them is like a Twitter sentiment like bot, right? It's kind of what AIXBT is in terms of like calling tokens. A lot of those, there are a lot of them to be launched, but a lot of them are going to get drowned out. And I think the real quality is going to be shown because of, everything becoming a lot easier to create, like with the no code platform and all of that. So I think a lot of the exceptional projects are going to stand out a lot more. But I think there's going to just be a lot more projects.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That was something we touched on a lot in the first episode is that a lot of the agents just become redundant at a certain point, right? Like you don't need 20 agents that are all providing market sentiment. Clearly, some are going to be better than others. So I'm really personally interested in just seeing where the space develops. Like I'd love to see similar to just the advent of an app store for smartphones. We saw so many simple apps come out and then progressively become more complicated and more nuanced. I feel like we've really only scratched the surface of what there is in crypto. And we really haven't seen a ton of AI agents that are actually useful in the day-to-day life of someone in crypto or even just in the general world of an AI assistant that can help you in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's one of the big things that we're trying to solve is like there's a lot of agents coming out right now that are specifically for the crypto use case. However, I think they're really useful in our daily lives. Not necessarily everything has to be crypto. So I think that's also one of the things that a lot of our builders on our platform have been doing is they're like, hey, I want to analyze this piece of real estate or something, and then provide insight based on that. So I think both of those things are there. Like I think a lot of them will become redundant, but also a lot of people are going to be using these in their daily life. So in terms of that app store thing, I could definitely see a way that like, this is something we're also working on where you can essentially like rent an agent that's already been, I need to mute, but anyways, rent an agent that
Wait,
essentially needs to, you
sorry, I just
basically
want
like
to.
pay them per transact, not per transaction, per transaction. That's kind of what our token does. You use it for the fuel, but let's say someone builds out a super customized agent that analyzes real estate, and you rent it for like 1,000 build a week or something, just as an example. I think that in terms of the app store is probably where we're headed as well. But yeah,
Really appreciate that. And apologies for the hot mic there and the MHQ account. Always
it's
some
all good.
fun on Twitter. But yeah, so tell me, obviously you're building out build. Always fun to say building out build. What has your role been in sort of trying to source for these kind of agents or these applications versus just focusing on scaling up the infrastructure that you're building?
Uh, could you explain what you mean, like in terms of like the interest, like like a lot of the stuff that we set up from the beginning, since we knew we were building a no code platform, has kind of been self scaling. Um, so I'm curious what you mean specifically.
I guess I'm more so interested to know if you're working to incubate any projects. Are there any teams or creators that you're directly reaching out with to sort of come up with ideas of what would a good agent look like? Or are you more so just, continuing to market build, ensure that it's functioning as intended and taking a less active role in the creators using the platform?
Yeah, no, in terms of like the creators using the platform, a lot of like what our like a lot of what we've been focusing on for the past 2 weeks has been getting the platform into, everything that is needed. So we've been hosting these dev schools. So, having those dev schools, hearing people's questions, and, also like showing them how to use it has helped a ton. So that's like our weekly dev school. So that has helped a ton. And then in addition to that, what we'll be doing like this week is, creating our own flagship agents, as well as like working with people one-on-one to create their agents. They're like, hey, like, I know how to do it, but like, I need some probably help. Like I have no experience with, developing, but I probably need this like one custom thing built out. So we're just going to go ahead and build that out for them. We're just going to make sure that people this week get all their custom agents launched. So I think in terms of that, that's kind of where we're headed in terms of the ecosystem.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. And, hats off to you guys for also just having these dev schools or just classes where people can learn to do a little bit more. I've always really admired communities that take an extra step to, help the participants in the ecosystem. So super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also with the dev schools, it helps a lot. Just in general, just to hear feedback in terms of the platform, as well as like figuring out what users want. As I think that's like a huge thing with a platform like this, is you really need to talk to your users. That's like a huge thing in the tech world is like, hey, get feedback from users is like, you don't know all the answers yourself. So, getting feedback from users, I think is like a huge thing also from dev school, as well as just like helping people create their agents. But yeah, we're also going to be creating like an ecosystem fund to like give out grants to projects that are building on the platform, and all of that.
That's really exciting. I definitely want to know, and feel free if it's classified at this point in time. But have there been any projects that have been building that have really caught your eye or stood out to you so far that have been launched off Build?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to dox anyone that is using it. In terms of that, I think a lot of what people have been building personally, or like currently, are like they're just doing a lot of like the simulation aspect, figuring out like, hey, what exactly to do it before they launch. But also, a lot of people are using this for like personal use. That's what we've seen a lot. They're like, hey, I just wanted to do like real estate, for example. Like, I'm not going to say what his use case is necessarily, but he wants to like analyze real estate. Or like, hey, they just like want to manage their business and have it, it knows all this information about their business, and like if you message your agent and you're like, hey, this just happened, it knows what to do. So we've seen a lot of those agents be built, and then obviously people are wanting to do the crypto agents where it's like Twitter sentiment or trading and all that.
That's awesome. So, kind of going back to the conversation we had about creating these use cases outside of crypto, is the crypto element there where you could scale Build up into a template for other people to launch their own agents? So using this real estate example, just in a broad sense, right? If other people have a similar use case, could this person who designs this custom agent at some point in the future say, hey, this is something other people might want. I'm going to license this out or make it available on some sort of Build store, and now other people can buy that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it earlier, but we're going to have a marketplace for that exact reason. People, the developers who are maybe like, like are a little bit better in an agent, they can go and sell that for like sell it or rent it out to other people on the platform. So you can go ahead and like use their agent that they built for yourself. If it's more of like a personalized. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that we're doing, and that's like something we're going to be doing in the next month here, creating that marketplace.
No, it's so exciting. Yeah, apologies if you mentioned that earlier. Definitely got a little derailed with the rug of the mic earlier. So I'm sorry if I misheard you
Oh,
there.
good.
Curious if you're able to reveal any of sort of the plans for Build tokenomics associated with that. I know it's a month away, which is like years in crypto time, so no worries if not. But
I mean, it's like within the next month. It is not necessarily the next month. Build will be the token for that marketplace. So I think that's kind of what you're asking for. That's how the developers are going to be incentivized. For building the agents on the platform and running them out. And then there may be some sort of like fee for us as a platform. But yeah, I think that's what you're asking.
yeah, it absolutely was because I was looking online yesterday just on how to actually launch on Build and was kind of going through the steps of just fine tuning the parameters for the agent, and I saw that everything was hosted by your team and paid for. So I was just really curious how it sustained and went into that. So I assumed that launching and expanding Build would be a pretty big building block of the platform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think another thing that we're like looking into is, expanding the liquidity pool for like a dual-sided liquidity pool. And, you can always earn fees off of that while also helping, stabilize the price for other people.
That's awesome. And, I try to really remain impartial on their show, but it's certainly exciting when a community has a good grasp of tokenomics because, I mean, so much of just a project's longevity is funding. And I'm seeing that firsthand with MVHQ, right? Like we're launch in, and we've had a platform for a couple of years now. So it's just the matter of actually building it up and planning for things like how are we going to get funding and scale and all that. It's really bullish when you see a project actually know about that kind of stuff and incorporate it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like essential to the longevity of the project, and especially since we're not doing just crypto use cases, it's going to be extremely important for the longevity.
I want to ask you this, because we're talking about non-crypto use cases. What do you think, and this is just from your perspective as someone who's building, what do AI agents look like right now in Web 2? And, are people in Web 2 you thinking off guard by AI agents? I've started to see some commercials for stuff like Salesforce promoting AI agents, but, I'm still torn just from some conversations I've had with people if the tech over Web 2 is leaps and bounds better than crypto, or if we still have a, pretty good thing going on over here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like it's catered towards different things right now. Like I think right now a lot of like, for example, you mentioned Salesforce. I'm not 100% familiar with what they're doing, but I think a lot of what they're doing is integrating AI into their existing platform. While this, I think we're trying to create like standalone agents. So I think that's a big difference. But also, crypto moves really fast, so I think there's a benefit of having a community behind you. Being able to get feedback from users instantly, as well as just the ability to move fast and all of that.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I want to ask you a little bit more of a personal question, if you don't mind. I'm really curious just with this space in general, because crypto does move so fast. With AI, it seems like you need to slow down a little bit in terms of just you need to let the project unfold. And this is more so from like a in your speculating perspective, right? Because we're so used to like NFTs or shit coins where there's really no utility. So it's all kind of just there. And so much of it is purely based on hype. But specifically with AI, where some of the utility could take weeks and months and years to build out, we see a lot of volatility in some of these projects' pricing. So, to weave this all back together into my question for you, what is it like as a founder watching a token with very volatile price action? Obviously, just last week we pulled back a lot, AI as a whole with the Trump token. So, I'm just kind of curious what that feels like for you to watch, the price ping up and down so much.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't look at the price. People obviously are talking about the price, in our Discord and the Telegram and stuff. However, we've separated that in terms of, hey, if you want to ask about the platform, go in this channel. If you want to talk about general stuff, go in this channel. But if you want to talk about price or anything related to that, we'll separate that into a different channel. And then personally, the founders don't like moderate that channel, to prevent that. But I think we're in it for the long term, right? So we're not really focused on the day-to-day price action. There's a lot of traders in this market. Good for them. Hopefully you make your money. However, for us, we're in this for the long term, and we're building like a lasting ecosystem. So these day-to-day price fluctuations, I don't even notice. Obviously, I saw the Trump token, Melania token stuff come out, but them launching a token, in my opinion, only like furthers this ecosystem's long lasting aspect. As Trump's in it for the next 4 years. He's very pro crypto, all of that. So I think if you're too caught up in the day to day stuff for this, you're never actually going to build anything cool. So the whole point of locking up the tokens, is to commit to the longevity of the project. So looking at the price on a day to day, to me, seems like a waste of time, and it's not really what I'm focused on right now.
I love that. That's such a sound answer. Could you tell us a little bit more about what your day to day does look like in terms of just a founder and a builder?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the day to day, it's not as glamorous as you think it is, right? I think a lot of it is just wake up, check Discord, check Telegram, make sure like everyone's questions are answered, eat whatever, get to work right then and there, and then from there on, that's been my life since I started this, is essentially do that all day, and then work until I'm too tired to work, and then go to bed. Like I would say it's not that glamorous in terms of that. And building at such a fast pace requires a lot of dev time in terms of adding all the stuff we want to add, all the building blocks. So it's not as glamorous as people think, but if you love what you do, you never work a day in the life, right? So it doesn't really like it's not like there's like a, oh, this suck. I personally really enjoy it, and I'm super thankful that I'm able to do this.
That's awesome. Has there been any like really high highs just in your experience as a dev on this project specifically that you've had so far?
I think seeing the general, receptiveness of, people liking what we're building, and, hopping on like the dev school and the spaces, and then everyone being like, yeah, I couldn't even get like Eliza to run, for example, or like, and then I just like launched with you in a few minutes. I think that is like the best thing for me personally, is like hearing feedback from users, and they're like, dude, this is like making it so much easier for me. And like, I'm not a dev, I have a little bit of knowledge or I have no knowledge, but like I was able to use your platform. This is awesome. So I think that is like the highest high for me.
That's got to be a really rewarding feeling there. I'm curious, just on the thread of user feedback, has there been any feedback that's really stood out to you just from launching it? Either feedback you weren't expecting, or just feedback that you got that was very actionable to you, that you thought bettered the build platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's too many things to count in this one. I think, like, every single time I hop on the dev school, I learn something new. Not even just one thing. I learn probably like 50 things new. Like every single time someone asks me a question, I'm like, oh damn, like, oh, you can do it this way, or like time I'm like, oh, they probably need this. So I think honestly, it's like a day to day occurrence for that.
Awesome. And I always ask this with devs on the space because I know it's just a lot of time sitting at screens. What would be your guilty pleasure snack or beverage if you're coding? Do you have a go-to? Do you switch it up? But like, just what gives you the fuel to keep going through the long hours of the day?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing there is just caffeine. All the caffeinated drinks probably is the guilty pleasure. Not probably the best for you, but it keeps you going. So there's one called like Odyssey 222, which is kind of fire. If anyone knows what that is, probably not. It's really small, but I like that one. But yeah, I guess the caffeinated drinks that with like 200 milligrams of caffeine are the guilty pleasure.
Whoa, that's actually some alpha there. I have to look up what Odyssey 222 is over here. The NBHQ team used to be big jot drinkers. We were like concentrated coffee and stuff. I'm sort of on the matcha kick right now.
Matcha, okay.
But yeah, no, I know, not the coolest, but is what it is. I want to ask you, so you're talking about looking on Telegram and Discord, stuff like that. How do you respond to FUD? Again, I know it's a difficult question, but I'm just kind of curious because like people don't really take into the account the emotions of people building these things a lot of the time, and I feel like specifically where people just spew whatever. Does the FUD ever get to you when people, are just saying things about your project?
I think a lot of the time FUD comes from people that are, they're like trading the day to day action on it. So, a lot of the time I would say no. I would say almost all the time no. If they have like an issue with the platform, usually they're not coming in, FUDing. They're just like asking a question, and then, that makes me want to, fix their issue or anything. So I think from there, but like, I mean, people definitely, what you're saying is like people definitely don't understand that, everyone building is human. But I think if you just look at it and you kind of forget about it, in the sense of like, hey, this person's probably just trading. They're probably upset about X, Y, Z. I think if you just take like the higher road in that sense, and you just like give them the benefit of the doubt, I think it's hard to get to you in that aspect. But yeah.
Dude, I got to give you your props again. It seems like you're taking everything in a super stoic and productive mindset. So I absolutely love to hear that. I've definitely spoken to some founders who don't have as sturdy a head on their shoulders, and if it really gets to them, or you can just kind of tell, but it sounds like you have a great head on your shoulders there.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I have one more question for you, just in general for building, and then I'm going to get some requests from the audience. So, audience, start sending some requests there, just bottom left corner. If you're on mobile, you can request the mic and ask some questions for the build team. But I wanted to ask you, just in terms of keeping up with the space, looking for new features, are there any projects that you see that really inspire your team, or you look up to in terms of inspiring you to build additional features for build?
I think a lot of the aspects come just from our community. Sometimes the community sends things where they're like, hey, like, this is pretty cool. Like, you should consider this. And, I'll look into it. However, it's not just like I'm scouring, what's currently going on and being like, hey, what can I steal and add to build. So that's not the aspect, but, or like, that's not what I'm doing. But, I think in terms of, what's being built, I think a lot of like the open source initiatives are pretty interesting. So, I mean, I think no one in particular. I think it's all very different, but it kind of helps figure out what people want. However, I think the community does a good job of like aggregating that and figuring out what's important.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I was always curious. Like, obviously, there's got to be some shoulder surfing in the big tech industry. Like, I can't imagine that Apple's not looking at what Microsoft's and vice versa. So, I was just really curious
Yeah,
if you're keeping an eye out on the space just to see, not like directly any one company, but more so the
yeah.
product or capability.
No, yeah, I mean, I definitely, but I think a lot of this, one of those capabilities comes out. Let's say, I think a lot of the time, the community does a good job of being like, hey, this would be pretty good. Like, I kind of want to add this to my agent. But yeah, I mean, I definitely keep an idea of what's going on. I think that's important. To stay up to date. However, it's not like I'm just like searching everywhere else to figure out what to do. I think, like I mentioned earlier, like in terms of like the forward thinking mindset, I think that's pretty important too. Because then you release something and everyone scrambles to add what you have. So I don't know. I think if you're constantly shoulder surfing, you're never going to be able to create that really cool thing. but it doesn't hurt to, see what other people are doing.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it. All right, we're going to take some audience members here. First up, we got Stan who requested, so I'm going to bring him up here and just buffers here for a second. But once again, just a shout out to the audience. If you want to request and ask some questions to the build team, we got them here for you. Just bottom left corner, request and get them up here. Stan, welcome to the show.
Oh, I know this guy.
Hey again. I actually just wanted to take the time to call out Tom and his team for doing such a great job with the community. I have like no experience as a dev. I don't know how to code, and Tom and the build team they've provided a really great space for me to be able to ask questions. He's made himself available to work on specific issues that we might be having in projects that we all want to do, and just for me personally. So it's been really great to see that. I don't know how unique it is, but in my experience, it's been extremely unique and extremely great experience working using Build and trying to make my projects a reality. So thanks.
Awesome. Stan, before you hop down, I'm curious, what have you been building, if you don't mind sharing?
So I'll try not to give away too much, but I was working with Tom on a polling feature for Twitter. I wanted to build something out that, man, I don't know how much I want to give away, but well, I'm excited about it, so I'll say it. It's I'd like to do something along the lines of Dungeons and Dragons with my agent, and so he's been helping me, and I've been attending the dev school, and he's been very available for questions, even though they're super annoying coming from a non-coder, non-developer. So that's what
No. Nothing's annoying, and now it helps.
No, that's awesome. Stan, what's been your perspective in terms of just your vision, right? So if you're someone who doesn't have any coding experience, you have this vision of a tool that's going to help with Dungeons and Dragons. How much of just what was going on in your head do you feel like you were accurately able to capture using Build? Do you think you're really starting to see that vision come to life?
Yeah, he's been. So when I say he, I mean Tom, but their whole team there at Build. They have worked with me and again the community that have been offering requests for features. I don't know how common this is again across other projects, but I've seen other platforms. I've wanted to launch an AI agent with other platforms, and I just kind of get lost in what it can do, what it can't do, and a lack of availability of their devs. Maybe because they're too busy, not to talk down on any of those. But Tom has been available, so I feel like everything that I'd like to see, if it's not there yet in the Build platform, it's being planned and it's being listened to, and so that helps me have confidence that my project can eventually become a reality. It's not there yet, but the things that they're building out are giving me the tools to be able to make that a reality soon.
That's awesome, dude. And I really appreciate that. That's cool to hear from the Build team and then also just a user of Build. I was going to ask, I assume this is Tom on the spaces right here. Awesome. I was going to ask Tom, we've seen a few no code, low code platforms that are out in the space right now. And just hearing from Stan, it seems like you guys really differentiate in terms of just getting feedback from the users, being available to them, and offering them resources. Is there anything else that you would say separates Build from some of these other low code, no codes that might be out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that are out there are like focusing on, Yapper agents, or, their plan is like, hey, in the future, we're going to add custom agents. I think the thing that separates us now is like, we're out now, you can do it now. I think the dev school really helps, like Stan mentioned. And I also think just being able to, talk and, if someone DM'd me, it was like, hey, are you able to hop on for 5 minutes? Like on Discord or something, I've done that like probably 20 or 30 times. So I think like the availability of that is super important, to building what you want. So you're not just getting stuck. It's like, I think a lot of the times what happens, in my experience, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago doing software, is like people would start using your platform, they'd get stuck on something, you didn't respond to them fast enough, and then they would just stop and give up. So I think preventing that from happening is super important. But I think just like the custom aspect to it, like the custom functions, the custom triggers, the marketplace, I think all of those things are going to be super important.
I really appreciate it, and appreciate Stan being up here. All right, we got a couple more requests here, so we'll bring them on up. We have SSL Trackadar. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. Up on the stage, SSL. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How's everyone doing?
What's up,
Doing
man?
good, dude. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, so I just discovered your project online when I was watching a YouTube video. So like, I was just wondering, where was your project built? Like, what frameworks do you use?
Yeah, we used our own framework currently. However, we're looking into adding more. I don't want to comment too much on that right now. And then we use our own framework, and then we just add these building blocks and platforms, like platforms and the functions for you to use.
Okay, no problem. And also, are you thinking about like doing partnership with like in different projects out there, like Dasha and stuff like that? That
Yeah,
we
I mean,
can
we've already
partner?
partnered with Vaifu. So like right now, if you like create an agent on Build, you're able to list it on Vaifu through Build. So we've already done that partnership there. Going to continue to further that partnership. They mentioned that they wanted to add, the Build framework into their platform as well. So I think all of those things are possibilities. But if anyone ever has ideas, feel free to DM or suggest things. We're constantly working on that as well.
Okay, no problem. All right, thank you. And also, I wanted to like I mentioned something as well. So right now there's a project that is called Think, where it's like a cool thing that allows you to like you use your agent to buy things for you on Amazon by just typing things. I don't know if you have like any idea to like collaborate with him to integrate that feature to your agent. That would be like a really cool thing to add as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that project, but if you just DM me, I can take a look and with more detail rather than doing it here.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, SL. Appreciate you popping on by. And yeah, Tom, I've seen that feature on a couple other platforms. I don't know if that would really be something that you'd integrate into Build, or if that would be, an agent that would be launched on top of Build. But yeah, definitely interesting how many features we're seeing teased out here.
Yeah, always looking to add more. I think more so just providing the building block for people to use that was probably what we would do.
Yeah, and I really like your approach of just kind of building it out piece by piece. I definitely have talked to enough creators and founders where when you talk to a creator that just has like a vision of a future state 4 years in the future, but that's what they're focused on, it's really easy to kind of lose the core functionality and sort of lose the forest through the trees, if you will. So it's always nice when you can just see someone who's got a core idea of their platform and they're just slowly building it out.
Yeah, exactly.
We had another request here, but I think they just dropped off. Let me see if I can find him real quick. Yeah, the block checks. If you want to get up here, bro, we can get you up here. I just sent you an invite. And Ranch, we got him here. Ranch, an MVHQ member and also a creator in the space. So really excited to get Ranch up here. Let's give him 1 second.
There's a weekly dev school, 1 p.m. PST Thursdays, where the team literally steps through and helps everybody do what they want to do. So if you're curious, come check it out. It's been great last 2 sessions.
Thanks, dude. Are you someone who leads the dev schools?
No, I'm just attending, just trying to get my own agent off the ground. Excited for the new stuff that's going to drop soon, and just wanted to invite others to themselves.
Oh, dude, awesome. Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about your experience? Curious what kind of agent you've been working on. Feel free to keep it under wraps or not unwrapped if you want to give us a little peek there. But just kind of curious.
Honestly, I just want to get a Yap bot that can, analyze tickers, that can put together some original thoughts together. And, I'm learning in the space in general. And this is the project I gravitated to because I am so new. And it's been great so far. And, just every week learning a little bit more.
Awesome. That's cool to hear. Yeah. How did you find Build in the first place, and what from you really stood out against compared to some other low code, no codes?
I checked out, I don't want to drop too many other names, but, checked out Swarms, didn't know what I was looking at because I was so new. Checked out Arc, didn't really understand it. Went through this cycle a bunch of times, clicked Build, connected my wallet, and, everything is making sense. I understand it. It follows the tutorial. So, this is 2.0 meets 3.0, and, I'm coming from 2.0, so it was the right place for me.
Awesome, dude. Well, congratulations. It sounds like you're now firmly in 2.5. But awesome. Appreciate you, Block. Thanks for shouting out the office hours or dev spaces there. And appreciate hearing your perspective. We got Ranch up here as well. Ranch, always good to hear from you, dude. How you doing?
Oh, I'm having trouble unmuting. I'm good, man. There we go. I just wanted to come up because I have used Build and it's pretty cool. Very awesome work that you guys have put together here. I love the easy UX and flow through. I've been listening, but I might have tuned out. So I just wanted to ask if you have any idea of which direction you're more heading into as far as like gaming or music or social agents or finance. Do you guys doing anything? Just tell us like what your future plans are behind the doors.
Yeah, I think we went through maybe not, maybe that was the previous phase. I think we went through the future plans there, but I think in terms of that, we just want to provide the building blocks for you to do that stuff yourself. So like, let's say music, for example. Right now, we just added voice, or like the voice will be live today. And then maybe in addition to that, we add a way so your agent can go create a song. Instead of us building out that, like, I think building those building blocks for what you just specifically mentioned is where we're headed, so that you guys can go create anything that you want. In terms of, I think a lot of that comes from like community suggestions too. Like, if everyone in the community was like, hey, we all want to create songs with AI, like that's going to be way more prioritized than, if no one ever asks for it.
Totally makes sense, man. I got to jump in the Discord and see what's going on. Congrats on the project.
Sure. And you can always DM me. We can do some one-on-one too if you want, if you have like private questions or anything.
Yeah, I might. Okay, cool, man. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, Branch, thanks for stopping by, dude. Tom, just in your, testing and getting ready for build, how many agents do you think you've launched personally on the build platform?
Too many to count. But I think a lot of the thing is just a lot of the times I've also edited an existing agent. I'm not launching tokens with this, but since you're able to edit an agent once it's launched, that's kind of what we've been focusing on. We don't need to create a new agent every single time we test things. And a lot of times, I just run through, create an agent real quick, just to make sure all of like the editing stuff works. So too many to count, I guess.
Did I bet? Well, all right. If we don't have any more requests from the audience, we can probably start wrapping up the spaces here. Unless, Tom, feel free if there's anything else from Build you want to plug. Appreciated the shout on the dev schools, but I saw you also had a space today. I don't know if there's any scheduling you want to tell the audience about so they can tune in.
Yeah, usually we have a space. Today it was on a Tuesday, but we usually have a space every Monday at 1 p.m. PST, and then also the dev school every Thursday at 1 p.m. PST. And I think the only thing other than there is, make sure to join our Discord and Telegram. And I think that just to reiterate what Build is, if you're just tuning in for the end, it's a no-code platform to build functional agents, not just, social agents that, talk on Twitter. Functional agents that can actually go do something for you and have real utility behind them. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate your time. Thanks everybody for tuning in again for Does Compute episode 2. We really tried to have a nice conversation today, just talking to builders, and I think we did just that. So big shout out to the Build team. Really interesting learning more about their platform, and honestly, it's made me pretty bullish. So I'm certainly going to be looking to add a little bit of a position there, and hey, it might actually mess around with some agents myself there. One final shout is just that the HQ token is going live in just a couple of days. So if you head over to the Metaverse HQ Twitter, you can click on our banner left. You'll be able to see a video stream with the countdown. It is just about 6 days away from the launch. And we will be back next week at the same time, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, for another episode of Does Compute. We got some more builders and founders coming in for that. So looking forward to it. Tom, absolute pleasure, dude. Thank you so much for the scoop on Build, and just appreciate everything you're doing, dude. Always really big applause for people who are building in the space. So thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Take care. Until next time.